Well, good morning and welcome to the Women in Business panel. And you are welcome to put your questions. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, you can put them in the chat box and we will get to them at the end. We're going to go ahead and jump right in. We're going to try to keep this to 1 hour. So again, welcome, good morning, and thank you for being here for our first ever Women in Business panel. So to start off, I just wanted to let you know a little bit about the Small Business Development Center and what we do. So the SBDC serves as a state consulting resource for the business owner in Kansas. And our mission is to increase economic prosperity in Kansas by assisting entrepreneurs and small business owners start and grow their businesses. So we are funded in 3 ways, most of our centers out of Kansas. There's actually 12 outreach centers in Kansas. We're all funded by the Small Business Administration and the Kansas Department of Commerce. And then we all have a host school that provides us funding as well. And what this does is allows us to offer most of our services at no cost to our clients. So how do you become a client? We can help you with that. And again, there's no cost. So how does the SBDC help a small business owner? So we can provide services for every phase of your business. We can help you get started by assisting you with business plans and cash flow projections and help you get a loan. We can help your business grow and improve your business results by doing industry comparisons and looking at your profit and loss and balance sheet. We can assist you when you are ready to transition out of your business by working with you on how to create your business value. We can help you protect your business with a continuity plan. And we also provide training events and can assist you with government contracting and tech commercialization. Some other smaller things, we can help you with social media, and we can help you build a website. So if you don't know if we can help you, please reach out to us. We're here to help support small businesses. So when in doubt, just give us a call. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first speaker, Sarah Haymaker. She is the Deputy Director with the U.S. Small Business Administration in Wichita, Kansas, and has recently completed 18 years of federal service. Prior to joining SBA, Sarah was with the USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service in Washington, D.C., where she led the Public Affairs Program for the Communications Division. Prior to service at USDA, Sarah held several technical and management positions across Louisiana before joining the senior leadership team and eventually serving a term appointment as the state director. Sarah is an Oklahoma native where her family has owned and operated small businesses for more than 60 years. Sarah holds both a Bachelor and Master of Science from Oklahoma State University. Sarah, we welcome you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here speaking on a very important topic of helping women-owned businesses grow, expand, and achieve success. So what I wanted to talk to you about today is the Women-Owned Small Business Certification Program that is run by SBA. The benefit of being a woman, of being certified as a woman-owned small business is, if you're not aware, that all federal agencies, as well as all prime contractors, so those large businesses that are doing all kinds of contracting work, whether it's, services or construction, or, I mean, you name it, the federal government buys everything, just about everything. So all agencies and all prime contractors have goals that they must meet across various socioeconomic categories, at women-owned businesses being one of them. So just to give you kind of a picture of what that looks like, across the nation in 2019, 5.2% of all federal dollars were spent with women-owned small businesses. That equaled $26 billion. In Kansas last year in 2020, that was $72 million spent with women-owned small businesses. And if you look at our 4-state region, that was actually $480 million. So there's a lot of opportunity out there if you are certified as a woman-owned small business. So in October 15th of 2020, the rules changed. And prior to that, women-owned small businesses were allowed to self-certify that they were a woman-owned business. A couple years prior to that, legislation was issued that we needed to make that a more stringent certification process to really verify that these businesses are truly owned by women. And so now you actually do have to go through a certification process to get that designation as a federal government recognized woman-owned small business or an economic disadvantaged woman-owned small business. The way you go about that, it's all online, and our friends at the SBDC can help you prepare to do that application. It's not easy, but it's very much worth it. And so when you're looking to become a certified woman-owned small business or an economic disadvantaged woman-owned small business, you'll apply online. It's at beta.certify.sba.gov. And what we're looking for is that it's 51% owned by a woman. But beyond that, it also has to be the day-to-day operations, management control, and the woman business owner must be making all of the regular decisions as well as the long-term decisions for her company. So there's a lot of things that we look at through that. We're looking for, documentation of your ownership, any kind of your operating agreements, articles of incorporation, that sort of thing. And then if you're applying for as an economic disadvantaged woman-owned small business, and what that means is that certain categories of businesses based on their industry codes, women are further disadvantaged because they're male-dominated industries. So if you look at specific industries, and I don't have a list in front of me, but you think of something maybe like manufacturing or in certain construction categories, there's not a lot of woman-owned business. And so we give that extra designation there. There are personal net worth and revenue tests. So if you are applying as an economic disadvantaged woman-owned small business, you will have to provide some financial information. But really, it can seem like a very daunting process, but what I tell everybody is don't give up. Get with the SBDC, contact us if you have questions going through it. There are a lot of resources there to help you prepare to apply, such as what you're going to have to gather as far as documentation to prove your ownership, to prove that you're not, the personal net worth test is $750,000. There's ways that we look at that. We take out your retirement. We don't count your house, all of those sorts of things. But we really want this to be for small woman-owned businesses that are not already extremely successful. So this is kind of that leg up to get you that access to start in government contracting.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I did put in the chat there the Beta Certify website that you mentioned. And yes, as always, the SBDC is here to assist you with that process. And so we appreciate that, Sarah. Thank you so much. So Kelly, you are up next. Kelly Patterson is the Associate Director, Certification Services for the Women's Business Development Center, WBDC, Kansas City Satellite Office. She specializes in women business enterprise certification that brings value and opportunities to women-owned businesses. Kelly is a people and resource connector where she shares the importance of learning, transferring knowledge and resources which support local businesses and spur economic development. Kelly?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. Thank you, Daisha. Just as Daisha mentioned, I am the Associate Director of Certification Process here in Kansas City. And the Women's Business Development Center, our mission is to support and accelerate business development and growth, targeting women and serving all diverse business owners in order to strengthen their participation and impact on the community. Our offices are headquartered in Kansas City, or excuse me, in Chicago, and I work in the satellite office here in Kansas City. The first thing you should know in deciding if you should certify your business, we kind of target on some questions. Is your product and your service targeted to corporations, mass retail, or government agencies? Does your business have the capacity to deliver quality products and services on large contracts? And are you willing to share the details of your business? Sarah mentioned her strenuous process, and ours is quite strenuous as well. We really dive into your corporate structure, your finances, who is really in charge. The certification has to be the business entity has to be 51% female owned. So we really dive into all of really into your business. As far as the benefits, there's federal contracting benefits, small business set-asides, prime contract for small businesses, prime and subcontracts for women-owned businesses, and no bid contracts for contracts under $25,000. We also offer access and visibility, resources and capacity building, advocacy, and in determining your eligibility, again, we determine those on ownership, contribution, operational and control independence, as well as citizenship and permanent residency. And then on our website, if you go to www.wbdc.org, it outlines the 10-step process in eligibility and determining that. As far as documents, I can't stress enough, if you go on our website and gather all of your information prior to starting the application process, it'll make it much easier, much simpler. It can be a very daunting process and very overwhelming. And everything that the system that we have as far as the technology is very secure. But once you get into that system and you start something and you don't finish it, it backs out and your information is lost. So it's very important that you gather all of your information prior to starting the application process. Again, tips to remember, know that you want to absolutely apply for this process. It's not free. It's based on your annual income, and it works on a tiered, the cost works on a tiered schedule. Gather your information first and set some expectations. Just because you get certification does not mean businesses are going to just come knocking at your door. This is a marketing tool, an add-on service, so to speak, to your business. And then read again, timely responses. And another point I'd also like to mention is know your NAICS codes. That's also important as far as determining certification. And then next steps and the respect of everyone's time, you can contact me. I'd be more than happy to schedule one-on-one conversations with anyone deciding if they do want to certify. Otherwise, you can visit our website again at www.wbdc.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. And that she mentioned the NAICS code, and that's something else that the Small Business Development Center, if you do not know your NAICS code, that is something that we can assist you with. And it's good to know, Kelly, that there is a cost for the service, and reminding people that just because you become a women certified business does not necessarily mean that people are going to be knocking at your door. So
right.
I'm sure we'll have some questions at the end for you and Sarah to talk about your similarities and then your differences so people can make the distinguishing difference between those two certifications. So thank you for that. Rhonda, you are up next. Rhonda Harris currently serves as the director of the Office of Minority and Women Business Development with the Kansas Department of Commerce in Topeka. She has served in this capacity for the past 22 years. Before this position, she served as a certification specialist for the office for 6 years, where she was responsible for certifying women and minority-owned businesses. She also serves on several committees and boards related to women and minority business development efforts. Rhonda received her certification as an economic development finance professional from the National Development Council in 1996. And last year, she completed the Heartland Economic Development course. She has a BA degree in psychology and sociology from Baker University in Baldwin City, Kansas, and an MS degree in industrial psychology with an emphasis in business from Emporia State University in Emporia, Kansas. Prior to working at the Kansas Department of Commerce, Rhonda spent 8 years in the area of employment, career counseling, recruitment, and training for Emporia State University and the Kansas Department of Administration Personnel Services. Rhonda, welcome and thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share information. So what I want to talk about is the Kansas statewide certification program. And what I want to do first is just talk about the key points. And one of the key points I want to stress is that we do offer several different certifications. So even though you may be a woman-owned business, there are other designations that you can obtain if you meet the criteria. So we offer DBE, which is Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, MBE, Minority Business Enterprise, WBE, Women Business Enterprise, as well as ACDBE, which is Airport Concession Disadvantaged Business. So actually, if you meet all the criteria for all designations, you could actually receive that status for all designations using one application. So isn't that amazing? Just one application. So just wanted to throw that out there so you don't have to choose one. So, or if you are an ethnic minority and you are also a woman, you can get the MBE and the WB certification status. Also, I want to note that we do follow a federal regulation in administering the program. We follow 49 CFR Part 23 and 26, and that regulation basically guides the criteria that we follow in determining if you meet the qualifications for the program. Another key factor is that we do not charge for our certification, so it is free. And so we do encourage people, typically the state of Kansas certification is a stepping stone to other certifications that they obtain. And a lot of times as you go through our process, you're actually preparing yourself to probably submit information to some of the other entities, because you can get the state of certification as well as the SBA or the Women Business certification. So you don't have to just stick with one certification. And then also we do certify out-of-state companies, but if you are out of state, we do require that you are certified in your home state first. And then you come to us to get the Kansas certification. And as most of the other panelists have stated, the basic opportunity for getting the certification is to increase your opportunities to win contracts and subcontracts in where goals have been established to work with women and minority businesses. And so that would be the goal for this. As the other entities have mentioned, we don't go out and seek the contracts for you. So once you get your certification, it's really up to you to self-promote, let people know that you have that certification. We actually have a logo that once you're certified, you're able to put that on your website and people put it on their business cards. But just know that, you know, you need to promote yourself. You need to network. You need to let people know, hey, I have this certification, but in addition to that, I have the skills and the resources to do the work that they need to, that needs to be done. Our criteria is basically the same in terms of eligibility. You do have to be at least 51% owned and controlled by a woman or minority or disadvantaged person. And you have to have the power to direct the day-to-day business decisions of the company. And we do require that you are a US citizen or lawfully admitted permanent US resident. And you have to show that you are a viable business. Now, a lot of our information lists that you have to submit 3 years of information, but we do accept startup businesses. So you don't have to wait 3 years to apply for certification for the state. If you can show you have the resources, the background, and the skills to do the work, you can proceed to go through the certification process. And if we feel like we don't have enough information, we may just tell you, hey, why don't you come back, get a contract or two and come back to us, but just keep that in mind. And you do have to be a for-profit business, an independent, and a small business. Now, our process can take anywhere between 30 to 90 days from the time that we received all of your information. So keep that in mind. This is not a quick process. So 30 to 90 days, and just make sure that you have your information ready. But if you don't, we do work with you. If you submit your information and we find that something's missing, we'll contact you and let you know, hey, come back, we're missing something, and get that information to us. We do site visits for our companies, so we'll visit you, make sure that, again, we're verifying you have the criteria, that you have the resources to do the work. Right now, we're not doing a home visit or site visits because of the pandemic, but we're doing Zoom visits. We're doing virtual visits to account for that. And probably just to kind of wrap this up a little bit more, once you are certified, we do list you in our certification directory. So Kansas companies can go to our website and they can definitely find you on that website, which is www.kansas.com. And they can go there, .gov, kansascommerce.gov. I'm sorry about that. And so they can go there and they can find your company, and you'll be listed with your location, your NAICS codes, and the particular, services that you offer. And we do have annual updates and triennial reviews every 3 years for the companies that are certified with us. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close and look forward to answering any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Rhonda. That is nice to know that there's no cost on that one, and that you can be certified even if you don't have to wait the 3 years like some of the other certifications. So I appreciate all of you speaking on your different programs, and I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie, and she is going to introduce our business owners.
Well, good morning. I'm Stephanie Willis, and I'm one of the advisors out of the Johnson County Community College, SBDC. And we are lucky to have with us today 3 business owners. They're going to answer a couple questions for you guys to hopefully give some perspective on their businesses as they've started and grown. First, we have Jill Biesma. She is the majority owner and president of Environmental Advisors in Engineering. They are WBENC certified and a women-owned multi-million-dollar engineering consulting firm, which has been in business since 1998. They are located in Kansas City, but they serve businesses nationally and have over 24 employees. She herself has over 35 years of technical and managerial engineering experience. And EAEI provides risk management consulting and assistance and inspection services to developers, REITs, investors, and lenders engaged in commercial construction, roofing replacement, and renovation projects. Jill's been honored as a Woman Who Means Business. And in 2020, she received an award for Kansas City Commercial Real Estate Women Technical Excellence. And through her development and years in business, she has prepared a PowerPoint that is entitled "What It's Really Like to Own Your Own Business: The Blessings, the Headaches, and the Surprises." And she is happy to share that with any business owners who would be interested in listening to that or seeing that. Secondly, we have Heather, and Heather is out of Pittsburgh, Kansas, where she is the co-owner of Sweet Designs Cakery and just the newly opened restaurant Toast, which is in downtown. She manages both small businesses and received her bachelor's degree from Pittsburgh State and a master's degree in 2017. She was the sole employee for many years before hiring Roger as a full-time baker and accountant. 11 years in the business, they decided to grow their business by opening this restaurant in order to sell their artisan breads and baked items. And Heather and her husband, Roger, run both businesses together, and they reside in Pittsburgh above their cake shop with their 2 dogs, which is awesome. And she is very active in the community and is compelled to help it. And she works with many organizations such as Art Walk, which she is a founder of that. So Heather, thank you for participating in our panel. And finally, we have Stephanie Sage, and Stephanie is president and CEO of Sage Restoration. They are also located here in Kansas City, and they provide emergency and non-emergency services to both residential and commercial properties that include water damage mitigation, fire, and smoke damage, just to name a few. They provide a lot of restoration services. She started the business in 2010 by herself, doing everything from site cleanup, marketing, sales, operations, just everything, until 2012 when her husband Alan joined the business. In over 9 short years, Sage Restoration has moved from bootstrap beginnings to a company producing nearly $1 million in revenue. They have 17 full-time employees and who share their mission to offer exceptional service with respect for their clients and their clients' property. Stephanie also has been honored with many recognitions, including Thinking Bigger Magazine's 25 Under 25. Her business was selected as one of 17 finalists in the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Dream Big Awards and competition, and received the Kansas Women-Owned Service Business of the Year from the Kansas Department of Commerce. She was selected as an Enterprising Woman of the Year honoree in 2018. She was a NABO finalist for National Women Business Owner of the Year and Kansas City Business Journal's Women Who Mean Business honoree as well. And she, and I know like Jill, both of them are continually educating themselves and have participated in a variety of programs, games, Scale Up, Goldman Sachs, 10,000 small businesses. So after starting, it wasn't stopping. They continued to develop themselves and their businesses. So we've prepared some initial questions, but at the end of this, we will have time for some questions. So again, as Dacia mentioned, please feel free to put some questions in the chat. And if you have a specific question for a specific, whether one of the agencies that resource partners we talked about or one of the business owners, please feel free to ask those questions. So we're going to start off with Heather. When did you know you wanted to start your business?
Hi guys, thank you for having me. I realize I need to work on my bio a little bit. I had to Google myself to get what I had. So if I want to do these things, I need to work on it. How did I know I wanted to start my own business? I always worked for my parents growing up. Ever since I was a young child, I would sleep on the chairs at night when they were cleaning up, and I would be there first thing in the morning when they went to work, and I would help, do little jobs around our restaurant. They owned a tire shop. So they've always been entrepreneurs and small business owners my entire life. So as I was going to college and getting my bachelor's degree, working for other people, and then getting my master's degree, I quickly found out that I would be better off working for myself because I knew that if there were any problems that arose, I would be the one to solve them. And it's more flexible, and I just really enjoy, I pretty much enjoy everything about owning my own business. So it just seemed to be a good fit for me.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. And then definitely if your parents have entrepreneurial, that kind of brought you up with that spirit, kind of lends itself to that as well. But Jill, let's jump over to you and tell me a little bit about your biggest startup challenge.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I think biggest surprise for me was how difficult it was to get professional insurance. That was a real surprise because I had been working in the industry and engineering. And so I had, 15, 20 years of experience before I started. And when I went to the insurance companies, the fact that I was a new business and I also did work in the hazardous waste field, it was a big red flag. And it took like 6 months to get insurance in place. And I think there were 5 different applications I filled out that I never even got a quote for. They wouldn't even insure me. It wasn't even a matter of how much. So that was a little bit of a surprise because I thought that being in that field and it being a developed field would be pretty simple, but it took a while. So that was my biggest surprise. And I think another surprise is that I found out later in my career after we had started our business that our original shareholder agreement that we put together was not really very good. And I had it reworked with a more senior attorney, and that worked much better. And I found out there were quite a few holes. So don't go cheap on hiring an attorney in your startup. That would be the lesson learned from that.
That's good. That's great advice. Definitely. So many people try to do it themselves, and especially in partnerships and things like that. They try to craft their own, or they don't even think about it, and then something happens. And it's better to cover yourself from the beginning. It's just like a marriage, right?
Yeah,
Basically,
it's more than a marriage.
more than a marriage. There you go. There you go. Okay, Stephanie, welcome, and thank you also for joining. What was your kind of aha moment that you knew you had actually made it, that you were going to make it in this business?
Well, my journey began back in around 2008. I had been in the mortgage industry, which in hindsight, looking back, that was really good training for me to start a business because it was an all commission profession. So if you didn't make deals, you didn't make money. And sometimes when you start a business, you don't make any money or just a little bit of money, for quite a while. And the mortgage industry was in a downfall along with like the auto industry. And so I went from mortgage company and everybody was going out of business. And I ended up selling high interest title loans for City Financial out in Gardner, making like a third of the money that I was used to making. And so I went to Alan, that's my husband. And I said, you know what? I just think we need to start a business here. Let's quit being sitting ducks. So we did some research and I looked at different, business opportunities, and I liked restoration because I liked the idea of working with homeowners, which I was used to. And we also felt that it was recession proof. But I have to say, it's been a great journey, but I probably should have looked into actual physical work more than I did. Because it's a very physically demanding profession. You're pulling carpet and pad, you're pulling out drywall. I mean, you're working in hot attics, and it was a huge learning curve for me, to say the least. So looking back, I probably should look into that more, but it's been a really great business for us, and it's been an awesome journey. So that's just kind of how I got started, and just persevered, started out without any book of business, did 3 weeks of training, hit the streets, and here we are later with 17 employees, and I don't have to work in the field anymore. So it's been awesome.
Good for you. Now you have your son doing that, right? the true family business. So Jill, I'm gonna jump back to you. What is some advice you can share with young women entering a male-dominated profession?
Well, I think that the most important thing is to do high quality work. So it takes a little bit longer for people to recognize your efforts and your products, But once you get past that point, then all of a sudden they don't really think about you as a woman. They think of you as a high quality producing company. So I'd say to really focus on responsiveness, technical excellence, communications, really trying to tailor your products to your clients' needs. And then those images sort of evaporate and people don't really think about you like that any longer. So it takes time and energy, but that would be my advice. And I also would say, learn to play golf early, okay? So I'm in a new golf league right now because I like golf, but I'm not really great at it. But it seems to be one of the marketing avenues for business development. And so if you can learn golf early as a woman, I think you can mix and mingle much better. So
That's funny you say that because I was in sales most of my career and definitely had to learn golf to be able to travel and participate with a lot of my clients. So, and I was a male dominated field as well. So good advice. Stephanie, did you have a women mentor or have you mentored other women entrepreneurs?
Well, I started out doing a lot of social networking, and early on I joined NABO, which is the National Association of Women Business Owners, and that has been my experience with being able to mentor with other women business owners, and we've been a great support group for each other. And what I have found out that it's very important to hang out with people going through similar things as you as a business owner, because even though you may have different businesses, we all have the same challenges. And it's always awesome to have other successful women to bounce ideas off of, or when you have a particular challenge that you're trying to solve, what have you. And I personally have tried to mentor other women. I'm always open to, especially women in startup situations. You can always come to me. I'm always happy to give advice. And right now I've served on the NABO board, and I'm also the current president of the local chapter. So I do what I can to support other women in business because it means a lot to me and I like to always give back.
Yes, definitely. Heather, let's jump to you. And what do you believe are some of the characteristics of a good leader?
Some of the things that I feel like I've picked up over the years, it doesn't matter what business you're in, it's about the people that you work with, whether that's your employees or, your customers or your community. You have to know how to recognize different personalities. You have to know how to play on people's strengths. And that's something that I'm still working on. I feel like it seems like a no-brainer, but when you're dealing with people, it's a lot of different aspects. So, but I feel like that's a really, really high up there on my list of importance. And then, sorry, I made notes so I wouldn't. And then the other thing for me to be successful as being a leader is to be flexible, because you never know what's going to come at you in a day, in an hour, in the next 10 minutes. So if you're not flexible, then things could fall apart real quick. If you don't have a plan A, B, C, D, it doesn't work out. So that's what keeps me on track.
Right. No, that's definitely flexibility. And it's funny you mentioned people. I mean, one of the reasons I'm an advisor now is because I don't have to manage people anymore.
I can see that. Definitely see that.
But I tell my daughters who, as they went to college, I'm like, take a bunch of psychology, because the more you can figure out how to work with people, the better you'll be. Because managing.
And getting those people to work together. Layers and layers. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, as a business owner, you think nobody's going to be as impassioned or as cared much about your business as yourself. And so how do you try to get them to buy into all of that? That's the part. And to that point, I think, Stephanie, what makes your job fun?
I'm glad you asked me that question after hearing Heather speak, because all of that makes it fun to me. I genuinely love I call it the game of business. And when it comes to employees, that's definitely probably one of the biggest challenges that myself and my leadership team deal with, and obviously other business owners. To me, it's like a game of chess where you have to have all the pieces in the right places and all the people in the right seats to truly have a fully functioning and successful business. And sometimes you're like, if I lose that one key person, that's going to mess up my whole chessboard. But I just love the challenges that come along with it. There's frustrating days, but I am a think outside the box kind of gal, and I just love solving problems, finding solutions to things. And I find it just truly exciting and just a huge challenge in how I can take my business to the next level the following year. So that's what I love about business.
Awesome. Well, yeah, that's what you have to do, right? Is find the fun in all of it, because it's life's too short.
Yeah. There's days that you're like, oh, geez, what am I doing?
Right.
Keep on it, get back in it. And I wouldn't choose any other way. I wish I would have started a business 20 years ago, but I love it.
You've been on your third one by now. Then. Heather, so kind of talking about some of those flexibility challenges, whatever, what keeps you going? Like Stephanie says, you got to stay in it. What keeps you going during those difficult times?
Again, I think my answer is the people. You have a lot of people relying on you, and it's not just yourself. So your decisions affect a long list of people, including your employees, the community who has supported you to get you where you are. That's what keeps me going, and knowing that I can make a difference and I can make changes for the better. That really keeps me going on a hard day or a hard year like we've had. So.
Definitely, I mean, and that's a great perspective, because yes, when you add people, you're responsible for them. You're their family, their livelihood, and so it isn't just all about you, which is sometimes difficult for entrepreneurs or business owners to place that value on their assets, which is really their people. And Jill, if you would have, looking back after starting your business and being in business for so long, would you have done anything differently?
There's a lot of things I would have done differently. Always look back and say, I wish I would have done that. I mean, probably I would have taken more risks sooner, probably. And probably a really good promotion for your group here is I definitely would have tapped the SBDC much sooner. So I learned so many things in the last 5 years I wish I would have learned 20 years ago by taking advantage of the SBDC programs. It's just really amazing the programs that you provide through the different organizations, and not tapping that. I've learned so much from that. Another item probably that sort of sticks out is I probably would have taken a financial course earlier in my career. So I really understood the financial side of my business better. I still would have to say I'm not very good at that area. So I'm relying on other people to help me. But I mean, I basically know if I'm making money or losing money, but it'd be nice to know a little bit more about the details in the weeds and have a better understanding of the key performance indicators and things like that to help my business respond better and know how to manage it a little bit more effectively.
That's great. Those are great things. And definitely thank you for the pitch for the SBDC. It's awesome working with you. And the financials, that's so funny. I mean, we see that all the time where, entrepreneurs get in business because of a passion about something else. You were an engineer. Right. To bake, you wanted to be involved in the community and do your different things, but it's not because you're an accountant, it's not because but when we ask people that, that's one of the starting points most of the time with our clients is let's start looking at your financials, see if your P&L, what it tells you. And so, and doing that analysis, and I think Daisha mentioned some of those industry comparatives and things like that, which allow you to kind of pinpoint areas of opportunity. And then you can start working through your operations or sales and marketing or whatever other areas. So again, thanks for the pitch and thanks for sharing the financial.
Yeah, we also had an accountant help us early on with our business, but I didn't realize that they could have helped us a lot more, and they never really offered to help us with additional things. I think that they probably wanted to keep their bill down or something like that. And so they pretty much set up our system and did our taxes, but they could have provided a lot more value to us as a extra consultant that we didn't even know that we needed at that time. So, you know, we didn't ask and they didn't provide. And so we really didn't have the CFO type position filled in our organization, which we really should have got that shored up early, either through outsourcing or some other fashion.
Right. I mean, and I know Daisha, you'll probably say the same thing, but I can't tell you how many times we see P&Ls come in and they just have one sales line, you know, it's like revenue. And really your business has different aspects, whether it's market differential or product or service differential that you should be tracking. So if you get anybody out there that is a business owner that is looking at their P&L with one revenue line, give us a call and we'll help you evaluate that. But let's just, if I can ask each of you business owners to think, and we'll go around one more time. And again, if anybody's out there has any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. But, you know, what would be one bit of advice or tidbit that you would like to share with the business owners or potential business owners that are on our stream today? Jill, we'll start with you, I guess.
Sure. I have a couple suggestions. One is to really vet your partners out very closely and in depth before you join a partner in a business. So it is like a marriage, and I really didn't do that. I just got lucky, but I think I was like 1 in 100 that got lucky that way. And so, I mean, you basically not only married to them, but you're married to their family, their finances, their values, so many different things. And your level of like whether you're liberal or conservative and how you manage money, all those things are really important in looking at a partner. That's one thing. And I would also suggest that you really consider diversifying your business. So that's been one of the really helpful things for me. So in 2001, then when the stock market crashed with 9/11, we were only doing commercial real estate, and the real estate market stopped. I mean, absolutely stopped. And I mean, it depleted my savings, and it was, we made it through it, but we had a lot of money in savings because of that. But I would say that was a wake-up call for me. And after that, we started diversifying. And so now not only do commercial real estate, but we do roofing and architecture and engineering and environmental services. And so when one market sector's up, another might be down, and it balances out and it helps you give you some security for the long term. So that would be my piece of advice.
Very good. Very good. Heather, what would you like to share?
I think I'll just kind of echo to utilize your resources. We got help, we got assistance from the Small Business Development Center from the get-go in our first business, and they've been helping us ever since, going on our second one. So thank you, Daisha. But they've been awesome, and anything that, you know, we might lack in, they can give us resources and show us how to do it properly and how to, you know, learn as we go. So that's been great. And then I talked to a lot of people who are wanting to start their own business. They're not sure. They're, you know, they don't know if they can put in the time. And that's one thing I talk to them about the most is you have to be willing to put in the work. It's very, very time consuming. It can run your life if you don't know how to run it. So, but you have to spend time planning everything out to make time for yourself too. So I think that's a big one. So
Definitely, it can run your life, that's for sure. And when you said earlier about having flexibility, I've owned 2 of my own businesses, and I have a third one now. And it's like when that person calls in from the front desk and doesn't show up, guess who shows up, right?
Guess who's covering? Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, there's flexibility to an extent. Yep. And Stephanie, what would you like to share then?
Well, my first piece of advice to anybody wanting to start a company is to definitely get at least a bookkeeper, if not an accountant or a CPA, because that was one of the biggest mistakes we made early on, is not doing that. And the price you can pay for that can be quite expensive. So just keep that in mind. And then another thing I'd like to give advice on is if you have a tough decision, don't be afraid to make a decision, because I've learned through a lot of just the different, classes I've gone to and stuff, that a lot of business owners struggle with making a decision and they put it off and they allow it to fester. I mean, it's important not to be brash and, make an impulse decision. Sometimes it's always good to sleep on it, but don't be afraid. Just, sometimes you need to just mull over all of your choices and the good and bad about a decision, but you just have to learn to make that decision. Don't look back and go with it. And then my third piece of advice would be, I see a lot of people that start businesses and they end up being basically solopreneurs because they're afraid to let go of what they think is that power. They're afraid to delegate and trust somebody to do the actual work. Because if you don't let go of that power, which is really just an illusion, you're not going to grow because you only have so many hours in your day. So if you struggle with that, you just really need to take a long look at that. Do you really want to scale and grow, or do you want to just simply buy yourself a job? And it's okay if that's what you want to do, but if you want to grow, you're going to have to give up that power and control and train people to do what you do.
Perfect. Yeah, and that's great advice as well, Stephanie. And that's one of the things that we work with business owners a lot, is to get them up the pinnacle of from being in the day-to-day to being strategic. And what does it take to move yourself from that? And it's very difficult, like you say, because again, people want to do as great as you or care as much as you, but that's the only way to, to Heather's point, to your point, to take charge of your organization, your time, and the scale. But yeah,
and then you have to learn to manage people. Like I had never managed people, and I'd always been in sales, so that's a whole other thing that you have to learn as well, is teaching people. Now we've got 17 employees, so then you've got levels of people to manage.
Right.
It's all a challenge. It's all good.
Right. But like I said earlier, you guys are all continual learners, right? And so you're continuing to help your business by helping yourself and learning different things. Again, I thank everybody so much for taking time. I don't know if we have any questions. There's a couple questions actually. Daisha, do you?
Yes, we have a couple questions. And Stephanie, maybe one of these could be you or I. The first one is, as a startup, what should I be focused on first? Setting up a website, marketing, research. This specific person is opening up a seasoning line and looking at stores. It looks like it's mostly male dominated. She said, I have more of a woman flair to my bottles and colors. I would like marketing. What approach should I take in marketing? So this is kind of a lot of questions here in this first one. But so first, as a startup, what should I be focused on? So what's the first thing? And that's something probably our panelists could answer. What's the first thing that you want to focus on when you're starting your business? Anybody want to give?
I would think you got to know who your target market is, before you can start selling. Who are you going to be selling to, and how does your product or service help them or solve a problem for them?
Awesome. I think Stephanie and I would both echo that.
Yes.
Obviously, doing some research and figuring out who your target market is would be your very first step that you wanted to take. And then obviously writing that business plan and doing those cash flow projections to make sure that it's going to be profitable business would be another first step that you would take before you have to spend any money. I guess. Let's see. Our marketing guru is actually on another webinar call. But anybody have any suggestions on marketing?
Well, I would have asked if there's, what distribution channels are there if you're selling to grocery stores, or there's actually like Spice boutiques like in downtown Overland Park. I can think of that one, but I think you need to decide, number one, what's the cost to manufacture? How are you going to produce that product? And then how are you going to distribute it? Even once, what are the channels? I would look into that industry a little more, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. And then the second question that we have is, what financial system do you use? She says QuickBooks, or are there others? What accounting system? Are you guys using industry specific accounting systems, or are you doing your accounting yourself, or are you subcontracting that out?
We use QuickBooks. We always have. That's worked well for us.
And that's what I've used too. And we do our own.
Okay.
We use QuickBooks.
I know Heather uses QuickBooks because I'm involved.
You help.
So yes, QuickBooks has about 85% of the market. And that is something else that we can help you with. I'm actually a QuickBooks Pro advisor. So that just means that I've taken the test to try to set clients up in QuickBooks. But yes, QuickBooks is a good one when you're talking about tracking your finances. Now, I know probably a lot of you also use a point of sale system that may connect into QuickBooks as well. So two good questions. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Go ahead.
I will say that we were able to get our labor tracking systems to link with QuickBooks, and Stephanie has helped us with that. And we use T-Sheets now. So T-Sheets does tie into QuickBooks. It was a little challenging, the migration, to get that connected, but we were able to do that because we have to basically do task level work. And we were able to program that to work together, which helps us a lot. So.
And one question, Dave, you pointed out earlier, whether to get WeBank certified or state or federally certified.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody wants to jump in, Kelly, Rhonda, Sarah, and just try to help with that delineation of, if I work with you, Rhonda, and get certified, what are my opportunities versus if I get WeBank certified, Kelly, what are my opportunities? Because I think it does go back to what Stephanie talked about, who's your target, and whoever your target customer is what certifications do they value, right? So Rhonda, you're nodding.
Yeah, definitely. Because we do get that a lot. I would say you need to know who your customers are and which certification that they prefer. And once you find that out, then that will help you make that decision. And as I mentioned earlier, that could change as you continue to grow your business. So you could start off with one certification, and as you grow, other clients may request a different certification. And at that point, then you can look into obtaining that additional certification that they're looking for. So definitely based on who your clients and customers are. So you need to know that.
Right. Perfect. Perfect.
I agree with Rhonda 100. Oh, go ahead, Sarah. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to add that, like Rhonda mentioned when she was talking, that really a lot of people that are going to eventually end up seeking the woman-owned small business certification, they're going to start with Rhonda because that's a really good starting place. And really, and like Kelly had mentioned, I think it is a marketing tool. So for us, it's if you're going to be going after the federal contracts and the large primes, you're going to need probably that SBA WASB certification. So if that's your target, then you're going to need to end up eventually going through SBA.
Right. Kelly?
I agree with both Rhonda and Sarah. As far as your target audience, knowing your audience and who you're trying to sell to. I mean, that's going to determine your certifications. If you're after federal contracts, you're definitely going to need the WOSB. As far as the WBE certification, the woman-owned business certification, you can also, if you choose to go that route, we also certify WOSB, and you can do that in conjunction with your WBE certification. But again, it's just if you're after corporate contracts, then you're gonna wanna go with the women-owned business, and you can always tack on the WOSB with us at a later date. But yeah, you're just gonna have to know your audience and who you're gonna market to, who you're trying to market to. So absolutely.
Awesome. Well, great. Thank you three for, again, jumping in. And we are at 11. We are at our hour. And I want to thank all 6 of you for taking time out of your day to share your expertise and experience with our attendees at our first Women in Business panel webinar and live streaming on Facebook. So again, the SBDC is here to help. So reach out to us, and all of these resource partners are fantastic. So we can either get you in touch and work with them. Feel free to reach out directly. And I guess with that, we'll say thanks and enjoy the rest of this wonderful sunny day.